everyone, it's Miss Rossi. Today we are going to be working with symmetry as we create a picture of an insect. What you'll be needing today is your symmetry paper from your art folder. This is just a white piece of paper, so if you do not have this in your folder, any white paper that you have at home will work. We don't need the labels, so you can carefully get rid of that. Now I also have some different symmetrical bug pictures on canvas that you can look at. I'm going to be using a Cricut today, but I do have a lot of different options on there that you can use as practice and as a guide when you're creating your picture. We're also going to be needing some crayons and a pencil today. Now the first thing we are going to do is once you pick what kind of insect you would like, we're going to practice drawing it. So on this Cricut paper, we have our line of symmetry going down the center, and we learned that symmetry is when something is the same on both sides. So if I were to fold it in half along that line of symmetry, this same image would be on the opposite side. So this is a great way to practice drawing your bug to get started. So you can pick whatever kind of insect you would like and practice drawing it by just completing the image and drawing the other half. Now it does not have to look perfect, but you want to try your best to make it look as symmetrical as possible by drawing what you are seeing in the same spot and as the same shape as the original image on the other side. So as I'm drawing these different parts of my insect, I am trying to make sure that they look like they're in the same spot on that side. So I can see these two shapes are pretty close together. So I can draw them so they are close together on this side. And I can continue until I complete my image. And now this is just practice. So we have practice drawing the shape of our insect and what it is going to look like once we make it larger on our other paper. Once you're done with your sketch and you have an idea of how you're going to be drawing your bug, you can grab your larger white paper and start by just folding it in half. So we're holding it so it is standing up nice and tall, portrait style. So this tall is going up and down. And we are folding those edges so they line up. And we get a crease right down the middle. Now this crease on our white paper is going to be our line of symmetry. So that crease line is going to be like our dashed line on our paper. So whatever we draw on this half, we want to be the same as what is on the other half of our paper. So with our pencil now, we are going to just draw our insect. So we just practice drawing it on one half of our paper. And you're just going to be drawing that again on your white paper. Now our white paper is a little bit bigger, so you can draw your insect to be a little bit larger on here than when you were drawing on your paper. Now I think it is easiest to start at that folded crease and pick whatever part of your bug you'd like to start with. I'm going to start with that head, and I am just going to start by drawing that same head shape that I drew when I was practicing, making it nice and big. And now if you want to change anything about your bug, if you want to make the eyes bigger or add any other little details or decorations, you can do that as you are drawing it. It does not have to look exactly like your picture that you started with. You can really make it look however you would like. We just want to make sure that it is symmetrical on both sides. So whatever you add on one side, we're going to make sure is also on the other. Now that I got that head on there to start, I can continue on with the rest of my cricket's body. Now again, we want to make sure we're making it nice and big. We do have this whole paper to fill up. Your bug shouldn't be super teeny tiny towards the center. You really want to try and take up as much of your paper as you can. I like to do the entire part of the body first before I start adding legs and things, just to make sure it's going to be big enough on my paper and make it close to the bottom. So now I'm going into that wing. I'm going to make my wing a little bit rounder. Now that I got that whole body on my paper, and I like how big it is, it fits on my space, it is nice and large on there, I can go in and add those extra little legs and any other little details that I want. So I want those lines inside my wing. I think I want to add some lines inside my body also, just for some extra little details. And I'm going to add some little decorative shapes up here on my body too. Now I can go in and add those arms, and then my cricket will be all finished. Now that we're done drawing half of our cricket, we are going to transfer our image onto the other half of our paper. And we're going to do this so that we know it is perfectly symmetrical on both sides, and so we don't have to draw it twice. Now it's going to be tricky if we were to try and draw it again on this side and make it look perfectly like the one that we already drew. You saw how that was kind of challenging on our sketch, where it's almost impossible to make it look perfectly the same on both sides. So the way that we can do this is by tracing over our picture with our crayon, nice and dark, and then pressing and rubbing our paper together so that our crayon transfers onto the other half of our paper and our image is going to show up on that side. So with a black crayon, I'm just going to go in and trace over my pencil lines so they are nice and thick and dark. Now if you have an oil pastel at home, those work great for this technique because they do kind of smear and blend together better than a crayon does. So you can always use that as well. But our crayon should work just fine. So I'm just going to go in and make sure I trace over my entire picture here so it is nice and dark. Now that that is all traced with our black crayon, we are going to fold our paper in half on that same line that we already folded, and we are just going to rub our paper together. So I'm just pressing that crayon from that one half of my drawing into the other. And I'm going to go back and forth a bunch of times so I know my image is going to transfer dark enough for me to be able to see it. And once you open it up, you should have an outline of your insect on the other side of your paper. So I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but there's like a ghost image of all of my lines that made up my insect on the other side. Now, if you want them to be darker, you can always trace over that same starting side with your crayon again and massage it closed just like this one more time to get your impressions to come out a little bit darker. But all you need is enough for you to be able to see those guiding lines for you to recreate your image. So now you can just go in and trace right over the top of all of those little ghost lines to create a symmetrical version of your original drawing. And again, if anything is too hard to see, you can always go back over this side with the crayon, fold it shut, and repress it to get it to come up a little bit darker. But that is why we want a nice thick amount of crayon on our paper, so then it is easier to see our design. So I can just fill it in by sketching lightly over the top of those ghost lines that I see with my pencil to create the symmetrical version of my image. on the other side. Once you have your image sketched out in your pencil, you can just go back in with your crayon right over the top to trace it to fully complete your insect drawing. And that is my cricket all finished. Once you're done tracing your insect, you can save it until next week where we are going to add color. So I'm going to save my drawing in my art folder until then. Since we are finishing our project next time, you do not need to hand anything in today. Just make sure you save all of your materials in a safe place. Try your best, have fun, and get creative, and I'll see you then. Bye!